What's up, fellow questers? Welcome back to another episode of I Don't Believe in Side Quests, where we love to remind you that every side quest is somebody else's main quest. I'm Gabe,
I'm Lauren.
and let's do some catch up on what's been happening this week for us. It's been a long week.
So this is just after Memorial Day weekend for us. So we're both just exhausted, recovering. I know I was off in Montana at my best friend's wedding all weekend, so I am exhausted. My husband and I are both a little sniffly, have some little coughs. We're hoping it's just allergies, but I don't know, because we were on flights and with people in Montana who are not vaccinated, so I don't know. Hopefully, nothing too crazy got into our systems, but we're both heavily in recovery mode. But the wedding was a lot of fun. I hadn't met my friend's fiance before, so this is my first time meeting him, and so it was really nice. And I just got to see her family, who I haven't seen in a while, and our other good friend who was with us on The Bachelorette also joined. And so, and we hadn't seen her husband in a while either. And so her husband and my husband got to go and pounce around together while my friend and I were off being bridesmaids. And my maid of honor speech made the bride cry. So did that. So all of my duties I felt successful
You
with.
did it.
And I cried during the rehearsal and when she came down the aisle. So I was just like, this is just going to be a whole
That's
thing.
me.
And all the groomsmen were like, we're not going to cry. Like, it's going to be fine. And then as soon as they saw my friend, they were like,
It's too real.
too real. So emotional. And I was like, yeah. And then they were all just stoic and stiff coming back down the aisle because they were like trying to not be, crying and letting them show their emotions. And they were like, no. Anyway.
It's okay to cry.
I know. I was just like, you guys did so good. Yes.
You guys did so good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was, I don't even know. It was a weekend. I don't know. There was a battery explosion for our boat lift, and it just was a mess. A lot of things that could go wrong went wrong. But it's exhausting also because it's just the end of the year, too. And we've been getting a lot ready for, the kids and stuff to be done. And we had our program on Wednesday, so that was good. It went well. One kid's mom forgot. And she had literally been there earlier that morning. And one of the other teachers was like, hey, are you excited for program day and stuff? And so we did the program, and then we have ice cream after. And this poor girl's like when they're done with the program, she's like, where's my mom? Where's my mom or whatever. And I was like, it's okay. I'll help you find them. So I could stay with her. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe she's down at the ice cream waiting for us. Let's go check. And then I got in line with her to get ice cream. And I was like, okay, maybe she's just run. I don't know.
Yeah.
And eventually, I had to go take her up to parent pickup. And her mom is not usually like this, but she was in the first row for parent pickup, like the first row of the line. So we go out there, and the little girl goes in. She's like, don't worry, Mom, I already had ice cream. And she was like, did I miss something? Is this a special day? I was like, it's the program. It was the program day.
Oh, no.
And it just breaks my heart. Since I've been there, every time there's one family.
Mm-hmm.
All right, to be fair, the Christmas one, unfortunately, the girl's mom couldn't get out of helping with one of the other daughters within the school's Christmas party. She had to go help, and it unfortunately was at the same time. And she didn't know when she signed up at the beginning of the year. And I was just like, that's super unfortunate. But
when is the last day of school? Isn't it coming up?
This Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay. Today is June 1st, which is bananas. I don't.
Yes. Yeah, we're literally recording this the day after the first episode of Nancy Drew came out.
And we haven't watched it, so I have not been
I watched it.
It's on the CW.com, so I can go and I'll probably watch it tonight. But I've been not going on Twitter to not spoil it for myself.
No, don't.
No, I know.
Don't look at all. Because it's not how some episodes are just, in general, for any show, are just kind of whatever, you know what I mean? I feel like this was a really important one. It was a really good comeback. So don't look at anything.
Okay. I'll watch it right after we record this so that we can talk about it in 4 days. Tuesday. I'm so excited.
Yeah. We don't even know what we're going to talk about in 4 days. Even better. Living the best life. You know what? It's fine. It's all okay. Okay, I feel like we have to get right into it. Because the Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider, we just have to get right into it. There's no introduction. We're just getting right into it. And this is why. Hear me out, sweetie. Okay, right? I was originally scripting the episode, and I was like, okay, we'll talk about it. The history. I was thinking about it in the Nancy Drew perspective, right? Do you remember when we did the deep analysis of the Nancy Drew? And I was like, okay, we'll talk about the history of the character. And then, oh my God, I spelled her name wrong for my first bullet point. Sorry. It really bothered me when I saw that. I know. And I was like, okay, then we can talk about the games, and then we can talk about the movies, right? I was like, okay, we can section this out. And then I was filling this all out, and I came across this thing that reminded me why I wanted to talk about Tomb Raider in the first place, why I felt like this is something we should talk about. So I feel like when I brought this up, it seemed like I wanted to talk about just because we both love Tomb Raider and she's a female character. But the reason that I did is because... Hold on. Let me go back to the bullet point where I reminded myself of why this is really why I wanted to do it. Listen, my brain's a mess right now with so much information of Tomb Raider. I'm sorry. Just bear with me.
I'm so excited.
All right. Okay. So... Oh, well, this is whatever. The bullet point is Lara Croft has become one of the most recognizable video game protagonists, which is true. Yeah, okay. And I said, which is why I thought this would be an interesting topic. When you think about strong female protagonists or a game to represent women, I would dare to say it's Lara Croft or Tomb Raider, right? When you just hear strong female protagonists or female lead in a game series, I would argue our bias would be Nancy Drew, but I would counter that with the general population would say Lara Croft.
Well, and I think when you say strong, also you do think, Lara Croft is a very physical character.
Right.
So when you think strong, tough, G.I. Jane situation.
G.I. Jane, oh my goodness. True. Very true. Right. And then I would say she's a very controversial is not the right word, but there's we'll get into that. We'll get into what I mean. I can only think so much at one time. Okay. So, because what I want to do is discuss Lara Croft, not just talk about her. Okay. So bear with me. What I thought as I was writing this out is I wrote down it's a page and a half, page and a quarter of what Lara Croft is, kind of the overall, all the history. And so I would ask that you bear with me to just info dump for a second.
Okay.
So that we can really get a discussion about it, because I know you're not as familiar with the game or early games and the early franchise as I am. So and who knows if everyone listening is, right? So I kind of wanted to touch point on things, and I feel like it will build a good foundation to have what I think is important to discuss about Tomb Raider.
Okay.
Okay. So I feel like this is pretty common knowledge, but Laura is, an archaeologist adventurer, and she travels around the world searching for forgotten artifacts and locations, which I don't remember if this is true in the beginning. I feel like this is true in the beginning. It's usually connected to some supernatural power. I think we see that. I don't know. Anyways, but she also obviously does a lot of infiltrating of dangerous tombs and ruins. I would say the thing that always kind of remains the same through the games, through the movies, through all of it, is that her origins are she's the only daughter and heir of the aristocratic Croft family. And if you had to pull out, usually I think the traits of her personality they keep pretty consistent. She's usually portrayed as intelligent, athletic, elegant. She's typically fluent in multiple languages, which I feel like one would hope that if she's, you know, looking at all these different things. Um, I wrote down and determined to fulfill her own goals at any cost. I'm not so sure how I feel about that one. I think that one depends, so I might scratch that. I'm not going to say that's yes. But yeah, she's an aristocratic, filthy rich, highly educated, adventurous young
Maybe it's like
woman.
she's willing to like put her life and resources in peril in order to achieve what she's trying to do versus like
Maybe.
any like other people's safety and whatever at any cost.
Part of me is like, I'm not sure if I am biased now from the new trilogy because that's what I've most recently
Mm.
played. And that Lara Croft, I would argue, doesn't at any cost. I feel like she still has a sense of morality, and thinking about. I don't think she thinks. What's the word? It. The like that the means justify the end. Is that what it was? That what
Ends
she would be?
justify the means.
Ends justifying the means. Yes, right. I don't think she's that. Does that make sense? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Okay. Um, Commonly through all of the games, gameplay generally focuses on exploration of environments, solving puzzles, navigating hostile environments filled with traps, and fighting enemies. The new trilogy was unique though in that it had the open world
Mm-hmm.
um, exploration versus a more kind of like linear level thing. Um, so on top of the games, there's also been an arcade made of it. Obviously, the film adaptations, comics, and novels. And then while I was researching this, I did see supposedly Amazon is working on a TV show adaptation of the video game franchise, and it's also reported to involve a tie-in video game and moving an interconnected universe. I saw you wrote a bullet point about it down below. Is there something you want to add to that?
Yeah. So Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who, if you don't know, wrote and starred in Fleabag, which is a very funny British show. So there's been a lot talking about her because she has a contract with Amazon for many millions of dollars. And as of yet, we have not seen anything that she's created come out of Amazon. So everyone's like, hi, Amazon paid her a whole bunch of money to create things. Where are they? Anyway, so in January, there was an article that came out from the Hollywood Reporter talking about how she was executive producing and writing a TV show for Amazon Prime of Tomb Raider. And
Mm-hmm.
so they don't, she's not going to star in it. Um, I don't know. Amazon wasn't really responding to what the Hollywood Reporter um, was requesting them to comment on. So there's not really a lot of information about it, um, other than just it's happening, which I think is really interesting. I mean, I think it's not unusual for Amazon to keep stuff like that kind of close to their
close to their
chest.
chest.
But I do think it's interesting that they kind of like leaked it and then were like, no more information for you.
That feels very much like how The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was. Like,
Yeah.
there's so little about it until, I don't know. But with Amazon, honestly, and how their show productions go, I feel like we're not going to see the Tomb Raider series until like 2026.
Right. And all the other articles that I see are all like, this is happening according to the Hollywood Reporter. So I don't know how the Hollywood Reporter discovered this. There's another article so that was from January. There's another article in April saying that they're still looking for showrunners to oversee it. So Phoebe Waller-Bridge is executive producing and writing, but they don't have a showrunner. And now, of course, there's the writer's strike going on. So, so Amazon in 2019 signed Phoebe Waller-Bridge to a 3-year, $20 million deal. And as of yet, everything that's kind of been like in the plans has kind of fallen by the wayside. So we shall see. She's allegedly developing other things as well, but they're, at least in April, they were looking for a showrunner and some other kind of lead pieces. So early days.
I was just going to say, to be fair, I feel like the first inklings that Amazon was going to take on the Lord of the Rings show, which ended up being Rings of Power, it was like years before we ever actually saw, like before the show came out. So go ahead.
So later on in the article, it says, in addition to Waller-Bridge's series, this is from Pop Culture. In addition to Waller-Bridge's series, there would be a film. Both would tie into a new Lara Croft video game that Amazon will publish as part of a deal with Crystal Dynamics.
Yes, that's what I said, but not with who, but yes.
Did you?
Yes, it's a TV show adaptation of the video game franchise, which is also reported to involve a tie-in video game and movie in an internet-connected universe. That's okay. I didn't know who. I didn't get that deep into it, but yes.
I thought you said Italian, not a tie-in. So I think I was just confused by whatever was going on there.
That's fair. That's fair.
Great. Anyway.
No, that's fine. That's interesting to know, like, with like who the developer would be.
Netflix and Legendary Entertainment apparently had planned an anime series of Tomb Raider in 2021, but that has not come out. I feel like
that would be fascinating. Like, just that there's been so many different medias of Tomb Raider. Like, why not have the anime
Everyone loves a franchise.
Yes. That's interesting. I didn't know all that, so I'm glad you found that. Okay, where it all started. Development of the original Tomb Raider game began in 1944, which then released in 1996. What?
Oh, 1994?
Yeah.
Perfect.
What did you think I said?
1944? I was like, excuse me?
No, 1994.
Okay.
And then released in 1996. I have this later on, but I want to bring this up right now. But that she was supposed to be a man. She wasn't even Lara Croft, which I think is why this took 2 years, right? From 1994 to 1996, was that she was supposed to be a man, but they were worried that it would be seen as like too much like Indiana Jones, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to copy Indiana Jones or something like that.
That's fair. I think there definitely is some sort of perception of her being kind of the female Indy in many different ways. just
I
because
would,
they both tomb
yeah,
raid.
I suppose I would agree with that. Yeah, I feel like at least I feel like when Uncharted, I think Uncharted was after Tomb Raider. Um, but usually when they to compare to the gaming sense, they always compare her like put her against Nathan Drake, right? You
Mm,
have the Tomb Raider for like the rest of the world, and then Uncharted isn't that PS specific, I think, or something like that.
mm-hmm.
Anyways, I thought that was interesting. So that's why she even became a woman to begin with, as they were like, yo, oh, wait, you have your cursor on it, or I have mine cursor on it. Yeah, it would be seen as a derivative of Indiana Jones, so they changed the gender.
Hmm.
Okay. So it was so successful, they began developing a new game annually for the next 4 years. And I
Jeez.
I know I made a comment because this made me think about when Nancy Drew was pumping out 2 games a year, and just like, but then this is even more complex than, no offense to a Nancy Drew game.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, holy cow. And so I was not surprised when they were like, yeah, this caused a lot of strain on staff. So then by the 6 games, there were difficulties during development. I think it was actually the 5th game that flopped on release. So I think it was the 5th and not the 6th game that there were difficulties. Yeah, so because of that, they switched to Crystal Dynamics, and that's been the series' primary developer since. Apparently, the developers tried to kill the character off after, like, when the staff was like tired of like they were like, we don't want to do this anymore. They're like, all right, what if we just like killed the character off? Why that
Very
didn't happen
Arthur
or work?
Conan Doyle.
True, true.
I'm tired of this. Let's have him just die.
I mean, yeah, except it's the main character, so like, yikes. But yeah, anyway, sorry. No, true. It didn't work. Why it didn't work, I don't know. Glad it didn't work. There's also been other developers who contributed to spin-off titles. I also think this is a typo. Sold over 90, okay, not this part. Sold over 95 million copies worldwide by 2022. Okay, I could believe that. It's this part where I think this is meant to be 2022. The whole franchise has generated close to 1.2 billion in revenue by, there's no way it was 2002. I'm going to guess it was 2022. So either I mistyped or I don't know. Probably. Okay, and then something that I think we really clearly need to address. If you'd like to scroll down to the pictures while I talk about this,
Okay.
the evolution of Laura visually. So how she started, I think you could call them just booty shorts, but I wanted to say short booty shorts. With a belt, tank top, combats, boots, backpack, and then I think she's meant to have technically a utility belt in this, and then the
Mm-hmm.
the harnesses or holsters on her thighs with twin pistols. Okay,
The
so
shorts get shorter.
oh yeah, yes,
That's
I
so
didn't
interesting.
necessarily. Part of it is I don't even think it's that they necessarily get shorter. It's anatomy improves. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think these initial ones are meant to actually be high waisted booty shorts.
Hmm.
That's just kind of how they are because that's what they were capable of. But I don't know. The gap between the shorts and the holster is why I feel like, although that middle one definitely got shorter, that one definitely was more like
The brown shorts, yeah.
spandex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. Um. Right. So halfway through, besides the shorts getting shorter, the tank top starts to become more of like crop top energy, and I'm like, okay, midriff, hello there, welcome to the 21st century. Just kidding. And so then I think the big one to really note though is in the current trilogy, she's got pants and a tank top, and I think it's very more clear that she has a utility belt. Like, it acts
Mm-hmm.
more like a utility belt than any of the others because she has more on it than just you know, I don't know. That's what I would argue. And then, oh my God, bless us. Okay, so the big thing that's pretty unanimous is she always has some sort of braid or ponytail, and she always has brown eyes and brown hair.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure technically what her skin tone is supposed to be. I mean, she's British, so they probably were originally going for like more white in the original ones, but like wanted to show her tan, because she's out adventuring and stuff. But like, not trying to be racist, but I feel like if we're saying she's a typical British, right, she would be white. I think. I don't know. Regardless, not important.
Based
Um,
on the later games where they show her parents both look pretty white. So, at least in the
yes.
later trilogy, that is the intention.
This was something I thought was interesting that I've never thought about. But a thing that was kind of unique to Laura at the time was she could swim through water. And kind of around that time period, that was like a rarity in
Hmm,
games for a character to be able to do that.
interesting. Because I know, yeah, it's interesting to think about that because then there's so many games nowadays where swimming is
Commonplace.
commonplace, very important. Um,
These I made note of because, we want to hype. I want to hype the lady. Tomb Raider 2 and the 2013 reboot had the biggest sales. Tomb Raider 2 had, I think it was like 1.5 million, which, in my
hmm,
opinion, is probably pretty big back then because the second one probably came out in 1999 or 8 or something like that. So
yeah.
kudos to them. The 2013 was, I think, over 11 million, which is pretty crazy, in my opinion. And then the first comic book was the best selling comic book of 1999.
Hmm.
The 2001 film adaptation had the biggest opening weekend for an action film with a female lead since Aliens in 1986.
And that was the Angelina Jolie one.
I believe so. Yes, I think so. I think there's only ever been two Tomb Raider actresses. Or has there been three?
So there was
It's Angela.
Angelina, and then there was the
She's the
one
first.
that came out in 2018.
Right. That's what I thought.
Okay. Alicia Vikander.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right. I made a note of this because I kind of agree with it to an extent. Some have cited the series as a pioneer in the medium, both laying the foundations for and popularizing action, adventure, and platforming games. Can you look up when Uncharted was originally made?
The franchise's first game, Uncharted Drake's Fortune, was released in 2007.
Okay, that's what I thought. I feel like there's people who try to act like Uncharted came first, and like, sure, you can say compared to the new trilogy it did, but
Hmm.
the new trilogy definitely took the building blocks of everything else before it. So, anyways, not sure if I need to put this in the history, but I kind of want to make note of it. Obviously, Laura's sex appeal was the main draw for early fans, and this is a facet Eidos exploited for marketing and attempted to emulate in other products. Some think her popularity stemmed from player empathy with her ability to survive tough situations. Alongside, okay, this part I don't agree with. Alongside contrasting against weaker female characters, such as Princess Peach, I don't. I have to say that I don't think Princess Peach is a weak character. She just, I mean, she's a product of what they created. I feel like she doesn't necessarily have a weak or a strength. She's just kind of there for Mario, TBH. I feel like she's not even a character, and not because I'm trying to be mean. I have nothing against Princess Peach. I love her, but just like
She gets kidnapped
until
and gets rescued, and that's what
yes,
she
it's not
does.
till recently they've tried to give her anything more than that, to be honest, in my personal opinion. So I
So
feel
I
like
agree
that's
it's a
a,
contrast to have Lara
but I don't think
Croft
it's right.
as opposed to, and not necessarily like physically weaker or stronger or whatever, but just as a depth of character. Like, we don't know a
Right.
lot about Princess Peach, and she doesn't do a lot. And
She's just like a prop. Bless her. Okay, and then this is the last important part. I don't know if it's important. Lara is both hailed as an empowering figure for women and a negative role model due to her hypersexualized and unrealistic appearance. And this all just screams Barbie to me. You can see I wrote Barbie. Of
yeah.
like, I feel like that's how a lot of people feel about Barbie. The big thing that like gets me about Laura and why I feel like this is really important to discuss is that I feel like it touches on how over sexualized women are and how like in gaming for a female character to succeed they have
Hmm.
to be seen as sexy, which is so sad to me. It is so sad. And this was such an interesting question to me. Someone had said was bless us. Okay, Laura sprung from the mind of a patriarch, right? Can she still be a feminist icon?
Hmm.
So, before you answer what you think of that, this was something else someone said that I did agree with, which is so sad to me with the sex appeal stuff, right? Her sex appeal is what made her one of gaming's most groundbreaking characters. And if she had been less sexy, she arguably couldn't have gotten away with being the lead of a video game franchise. And there's not many games with an exclusively female playable character. Usually, if there's a female character, it's that you can choose to be a male or choose to be a female. All right, hit me with your thoughts.
So,
Mhm.
um, I think there is space for characters, individuals, whatever, to start out one way and transform
Mhm.
and become something new. Like, I feel like the maybe original Lara Croft and then this new trilogy, new, quote
Mhm.
unquote, in the last 10 years, whatever, this new trilogy, it is the same basic character, like the basic characteristics, but
Right.
there's so many fundamental differences. Like, Lara's younger, Lara's has all of these feelings. She's a actual real person and not simply just like a hottie on the screen who you can control. Like, so I feel like because of what has and can be done with the character, just like with Barbie, she can be whoever you want her to be. You can
Mhm.
consume the pieces of media that are her in a way that you like, and people can consume areas of media in which she is like super sexy and ridiculous if that's how they want to view the character. Ultimately, she's a character. Like, she's not a real person who we're, you know, having to say, well, was she actually a good person? I don't know. Like, what was the purpose of her? Like, she's a character, so we can mess around with her all that she wants.
I think this was made for the original Tomb Raider too, but there were user-made game patches with titles like Nude Raider, which were made solely for the purpose of removing her clothes to reveal her pixelated body. Which, if that's actually true, I don't know if that was for the. I don't think you could do that necessarily for the first
Yeah.
game, so it probably would have been later stuff. But
I will
just
also say that there is definitely I don't know if it's like a market, but there's definitely a strategy of, if you want to get your name or whatever out there, think like Lady Gaga. Like,
mhm.
Lady Gaga, she was just like, I have a great voice. I can either go out and just have my great voice, or I can say, you know what, I'm going to be wild. I'm going to be crazy. I'm going to be wearing all these kooky outfits. No one's going to know what to expect from me. And now that that's happened, now she can kind of shed some of that kookiness and just let her voice shine because she made the impact. And so to have a female-led action game, who are you marketing this towards? At the time, you were marketing to primarily men. How are you going to get men to download your game and want to play as a female lead? She's going to be hot. Okay.
Yeah.
If that's how you have to like get her out there, fine.
Well, that's what the critics of the time said too. They're just like, she's designed as an adolescent male fantasy, chest twice as wide as her waist, and all of that. You're like, true. And then because you brought up this point too, which I thought it was funny. I saw in 2000 the media was crediting Laura with her originating the concept of the cyber babe, which is the idea of the hyper unrealistic female game character who served as a repository for male fantasies. Oh God.
So like on the one hand, yes, she's not a person. So if somebody wants to see her naked, okay. She's not human. In some ways I'm like, it doesn't, that's fine. They can go and do that if they want to do it, whatever. It's pixels on a screen. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It only matters if they then act in a way towards her that they and then if they feel empowered to act inappropriately towards human women because they're
Right.
like, well, I can do it to my little e-girlfriend or what. Like I think if you either are young enough or are don't have the social whatever and translate any sort of like abusive or controlling or whatever behavior that you have to an on-screen character, if you translate that into your real life and try to treat a human woman inappropriately or badly, that's what I care about. I kind of don't care what you do with characters in video games as long as you can separate that out from real human beings and say, whoop, all right, well, I'm not going to do that. Now, there are definitely lots of people out there who are like, I wouldn't do it to a human being. I'm not going to do it to this character because, I just have that respect level.
That's me. I already talking about my stuffed animal issues, that my stuffed animals were like real to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really bad about that. There are a lot of things that like conceptually, yes, I know and understand they're not real, but they feel real to me. They feel real enough that my mindset of, well, would I like it if someone did this to me?
Mm-hmm.
If the answer is no, then I'm not going to do it, right? And like characters is something that feels real enough to me where it bothers me. But like I agree with you that
I'm never mean to my Sims.
Yeah.
I say that. I never try to like actively ruin my Sims' lives.
Right.
I will work them to the bone and be like, no, go do this thing, learn this thing, be better at this thing. I want you at the apex of your mental and physical health. So like I'll push them,
taking care of them.
But
right.
I want them to be very successful at everything they do. I'm not trapping them in a pool and letting them drown. So yeah, so I think
my sister did something like that.
Did she?
Yes.
I think it's an interesting empathy test of like, do you have this? And they do that with kids, right? Where they'll be like, mm-hmm. Oh, here's this thing that looks kind of like a human. What do you do? Like, I think understanding how people treat humanoid objects and if they do treat them differently than they do like actual humans.
Mm-hmm.
would I want to date or spend a lot of time with somebody who I knew murdered or otherwise acted really, really badly towards all of their video game characters? I don't know, because I think that does show that they have those impulses. Am I glad they're not doing it on actual humans? Yes, absolutely. But they're there and they have an outlet for it. So it's whether it's a healthy outlet and it's getting it out of their system, or they're getting to experiment and saying, "Oop, yeah, maybe not for me." Or if they're saying, yes, this is building up. And then at some point, I'm going to lose the distinction between virtual and real. And then I'm going to go off somewhere weird.
It gives me the vibes of kids like tearing legs off of spiders, and the spiders just,
Mm-hmm.
or other things, to like poor helpless
Burning
bugs.
ants. Yeah.
Yeah, and not in the sense that where like they'll talk about how that led to then torturing different animals to then being killers, but just in general, there's people who don't
Mm-hmm.
become killers and stuff, but like they did that as kids, or even sometimes still as adults, to bugs, where they just like terrorize these things. I'm like, but like, but why? That's sick. That's so,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't
the
know. That's
empathy
so sad to
thing.
me.
It's it's definitely telling.
Yeah, because even though, bug doesn't have feelings, it feels pain,
Mm-hmm.
and fear, in the sense of survival instinct, and like, just why would you want to cause that to another creature?
Right.
Oh yeah, this was something that I thought was interesting too. In one sense, Laura was an extraordinary example of female empowerment. It was rare enough that she helmed a franchise in which players can only play as a woman, but the franchise itself was also a worldwide best-selling cultural phenomenon. Like, she literally took over the world, for better or for worse.
And so
And
again, I agree
yes.
that if she had not, I mean, obviously in this
Oh,
day and age,
yes.
she could have come out as, a fully clothed, a real functioning person, um, as opposed to, the very pixely, um, skimpy outfit, just hot girl running around tombs that she started out as.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I not to talk about ends justifying the means
Yes.
that we were talking about earlier, but
Yes.
if that's what was needed to give her to us, and now we can take her on and
And shape her
change
how we
her
want.
and update her and give her a real voice, I'm happy with
Right.
that.
Right. I had two responses. I just realized when you said that. Oh my god, and I forget what I just thought of. Okay, well, the first one was you were talking about earlier with the male gamers, when I brought up the nude raider,
Mm-hmm.
and this was the bullet point I'd been looking for, that made me think of. Despite her character traits, she was still seen primarily as a sexual object, and disturbingly, oh yeah, this was something a critic said, as a power fantasy for male gamers who enjoyed having direct control over her. And this is what I thought of when you were saying, it escalating from the patches to in real life, right? And just like, uh, I don't want to misspeak, but I feel like a big thing, just for abusers in
Mm.
general, is having that direct control and controlling everything about your life. And it's just like, not I don't know. I don't want to think of gaming as gateways to things, because I think that's not necessarily true. But you know what I mean? Where like, what if it's something that sparks something within someone, that they're like, well, why, if I can do it like this, why can't I do it in real life. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It just made me think of that.
Yeah. Well, and again, like if you and I are playing the game and we're saying, great, we're playing a game. We got her going. We're going to have her go do this thing. We're going to have her, if we're not, I just feel like it's a mentality that either you have or you
Right.
don't, where
As I
most
say, I
people are
feel like
playing it and they're like, I'm playing a video game and controlling a person. Awesome. Like, it's,
I see more of like I feel like there's the mentality of like you are the character
mm,
or it's you're controlling the character. Or at least that's kind of how I think and when I listen to people talk about it, right? Is there's the people who when they play a game, they take on the characters like, they are that avatar,
yeah.
whatever it is. And that's how they're going to play. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I remember what my other thing was is we were talking about how we could reshape it
Mm-hmm.
with and you're referencing the new trilogy and I forgot to look this up because I was talking about, Laura as a product of the patriarch, right? And it was like she was made by a man. I guess I don't know if it was all of her games because I don't know about the new trilogy, but at least the ones before that were made by mostly men teams. So now I'm interested in that. Is the new trilogy? Go ahead. Is it a female?
Well, it's that female writer. Remember, we talked about her on one of our spotlights.
Yeah.
So I don't know about the rest of the team, but
My thought more is like how much did the female voice actually influence the new trilogy? And if it wasn't I don't think it has to be mostly female, but if it's mostly male, is it really us taking Lara Croft and um reshaping her for us or I don't know what the or is, but you know what I mean?
yes. So Rihanna Pratchett,
Right.
Terry
Oh yeah,
Pratchett's
Rihanna.
Sir Terry Pratchett's daughter, was the lead writer for Tomb Raider and then Rise of the Tomb Raider. She also wrote the comic Tomb Raider: The Beginning, and so she was heavily involved in the character work and again
Oh,
the
okay,
writing and the
good.
story of
hmm
the new Tomb Raider series.
I'd just like to say I actually like both versions of Laura,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because like I like wearing not a lot of clothing, and it's not because I like to show my body off, but it's a sensory thing.
Mm.
Clothing bothers me a lot, and there's a lot of times where like in the house where I'm as naked as I can be, and it's not because I necessarily want to be or I'm like a nudist or something, but just like it just feels better. It feels
Yeah.
most comfortable. I've said this. If I it was socially acceptable for me to only wear a swimsuit, I would do it because that's when I feel the best. When my arms and legs aren't like constrained in fabric and stuff. And so, like, I look at her and I'm like, dude, Laura, that's what I would be wearing doing what you do because it's hot, it's dank, you're working your booty off, and I sweat like a pig. Like,
And
that
she's
would be
swimming.
me. Yeah. And yes, exactly. There's so much stuff, right?
And
So,
she's a
like, that.
hot badass. I mean, at the basic level, like, cool. That's why tons of girls dress up as her for Halloween. That's why they had Angelina Jolie play her in the movies. I don't have a problem with
She
her
doesn't,
being a hot
but she doesn't
badass.
have to be, she doesn't have to wear that to be a hot badass.
No,
She could still
agreed.
be a hot badass and other stuff. But then I also like, well, like and like that, right? The new Laura still looks like a hot badass, and she has pants on.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
You know what
even
I
in
mean?
the Jolie movies, I think her
Yeah.
first scene when she's like in a tomb.
Doesn't she have big khakis?
Yeah, but I think
No.
in
Yeah.
the first scene she does wear that outfit and then kind of immediately changes and wears other typically like sleek form-fitting things, but she doesn't get back in the booty shorts.
To be fair, I would see how wearing sleek, form-fitting clothing would be advantageous in what they do because you
Oh
don't
yeah.
want your clothes to be catching on stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
But then there's those people who are just like, oh, but it's just for sexiness. And you're like, okay, buddy. I also love her boots. So she wears like shit kicker combat boots.
Oh yeah, she has to run, she
I
has to
think that's
climb
awesome.
walls. I
Yeah.
love those
Yes.
Angelina
Yes.
Jolie movies. I love them very, very
Wasn't there
much.
only one?
There's two.
Wait, Angelina Jolie's in two? I don't know if I've ever seen the second one.
There's two of them. One's just Tomb Raider. Yeah, just Lara Croft Tomb Raider, and that came out in 2001. And then 2 years
Imagine
later,
if
there
I've
came
only seen the
out
second one.
Tomb Raider: The Cradle of Life. Because yeah, on the first Tomb Raider, she is wearing kind of like a little booty short situation. She's not in it very often. And then the second one, she's wearing like a full sleek little outfit.
But yeah, she has a bunch of like. Honestly, her Tomb Raider gave me so much like Charlie's Angels vibes.
Yes.
I thought she was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
2001, I mean, that was peak, just like girl power, wear a little outfit, kick some ass while looking good. Like that was everything that was happening on right there.
She really does look like the original Tomb Raider. Like if you look at her and of like the pixelated, she really does.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm so shook by this. Wait, okay. What was the new Tomb Raider? Okay.
So the second one is she's going to Greece and she meets up
Now, what's
with
it called? I meant. Sorry.
The
Oh, wait.
Cradle of
2018.
Life.
I found it.
The new one.
I just wanted to look at what she looked like. She just looks more like the new trilogy.
Yes.
Tomb Raider.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
Because that new trilogy started in 2018 and again is like a younger Lara Croft as she's kind of
started in 2013.
2013? Yeah.
Yeah.
So then 5 years later, out comes this new Tomb Raider, and it is a younger actress playing more of like a early 20s Lara.
See, I think she looks like Lara Croft too. She gives me early, like young Lara Croft, you know.
Yeah.
Like 18 to 24, maybe like 20, yeah, like to 24 kind of Lara Croft.
Mm-hmm.
And then Angelina Jolie gives me a more mature,
in her 30s.
She's been through some shit. Lara Croft.
I know. What a time. And John Voight played her father. Wow.
I will say I feel like her boobs are a little more realistic in that, like, with what Lara Croft does, she would have to be pretty physically fit. And when you get that kind of physically fit, your boob turns more into a muscle, right? It starts getting more of a like pectoral kind of look versus boob.
If you haven't seen obviously these movies, please go see them. They are such a good time. They're very chaotic. There's several plot holes. I won't go into them, but they're a good time. They're very fun.
Yeah. There's obviously other reasons why Lara Croft's boobs are unrealistic, but just like if we ignored all of those,
I wouldn't say they're unrealistic. Oh, you mean the triangle? So shaped like a triangle?
The triangle, the original ones, just in general. Like
I would say they're unusual.
Sweetie, look at number 3, right? She's beyond
okay, hold on.
The triangle. We've developed a rounding of boob.
Oh, and they're real high up, huh?
Yes, that's not natural.
Gotcha.
No girl without surgery has that kind of waist and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of huge perky
But
boobs.
that's what I'm saying. It's not unrealistic
That's
because
not
people
natural.
can have it happen or can make it happen, but it's
Okay, but you know what I
unrealistic.
meant when I said unrealistic.
It's unusual. Yes. Yeah, no,
No,
that number 3. Okay. So I'll have this up on the screen so they can look at it.
okay.
So number 1, just like it's truly you can see it. It's like a little triangle trapezoid situation that's just been placed on her chest because they clearly didn't know how to put boobs on a
Well, I mean, you look at her shoulders; those are square. I mean, it's just
everything
this
square.
was this was the graphics at the time.
And then the second one, she's a little less square and blocky, but
The boobs
otherwise
are
looks
bigger.
pretty. Boobs are
The
bigger,
boobs are
waist is
bigger
a
in the
little
second one.
smaller,
There was a
shorts are a little
supposedly
shorter.
a glitch in the coding that caused the boobs to be bigger, and they just left it instead of fixing it because they liked it or something like
That's
that.
so funny. And then the
Anyways,
third one, yes, we got a lot more roundness going on, and her boobs are lifted up even higher. Her waist is even tinier. And
mhm.
then the fourth one, we kind of have some color change going on, which I think is fun. She's got little strands of hair floating around. Again, it's rounder. We've got the crop top going on at this point. The fifth one in the line, we've got way more of a crop top, way lower rise pants, shorts going on. Um, Still pretty skinny. Um, and then the sixth one, waist even thinner, no crop top. And then the seventh one, we got crop top back. And then the eighth one is the 2013. She's got actual pants on. She's not showing her midriff. Again, she is supposed to be like a teenager in this. So they
Mhm.
also were kind of like, and I think that's probably a good reason why they did that, is they were just like, she's a teenager, so we're gonna like dress her a little more uh covered and
She's a
reduce the
teenager in the new
sexiness.
trilogy.
The first one, anyway, because it's kind of like a little prequel in a way.
I mean, in the flashbacks, I believe she was younger, but I didn't think she was a teenager as just the character themselves.
Oh, sorry, not the first one in the series. The Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's the one I'm thinking of. She's pretty young. I'm not sure how. I don't think they say how old she is.
I feel like she has to be 20. There's no way she's still a teenager. There's no way she could just do all the stuff she does as just a teenager. No, she has to be more than a teenager because the whole reason she gets to where she is in the first one is she joins the archaeology group like as a worker. I'm pretty
Mm,
sure she's gone through like school and stuff. Like she probably has maybe not necessarily a degree, but you know what I mean? Like she has to be 20, 21, 22. I feel like more
okay.
like 22. Also, I'd just like to say I'm going to say she is unrealistic, and this is why I'm going to say she's unrealistic. Is that for something to be unrealistic, it is that it's just like not the average person can achieve that. right? The average person cannot go get that many surgeries to look
Mm-hmm.
like that because she has not only breast surgeries, but also she would have to get that kind of waist where like they remove your
Yeah.
ribs. Like that stuff they would have to get, she probably would have to get.
That's Disney princess waist.
Yes. And that's why I would say it's unrealistic. I mean, it's like it gives Kardashian vibes, you know what I mean? Where they try to act, they're like, it's
Mm-hmm.
natural, it's fine. We don't set unrealistic beauty standards. It's like, well, but you do. The average
Yeah.
person does not have the capability to go do all that.
I genuinely think if the waist was larger, I think it'd be
Hmm.
fine.
Well, yeah, then I would believe it's natural because I had super huge boobs for a smaller, like not now, obviously I'm fat, but like when I wasn't, like I had bigger boobs than normal for
Yeah.
my body size. So, yes, I would agree with that.
Okay. So it's just a waist issue.
Well, the waist just makes it all unproportional.
Yeah.
She would have hella back pain, let me tell you.
Well, maybe
That would
that's why she
suck.
puts so much stuff on her back to kind of weigh her down and kind of even things out.
That's not how it works. I can tell you that's not how it works. And I also tell you because that's natural, right? And it's not like she wanted the surgeon to give her boobs like that. I bet you she would go get a breast reduction because that
Mm-hmm.
feels so hard on your body. It's awful. Anyways, sorry. Oh, let me see if there's anything else that I really wanted to. Unless there's anything else you want to say too, as well. It's so sad that building a franchise around a female lead is like seen as a risk. I
I mean,
Go ahead.
in their defense, this was 98, right?
No, but I mean like even today.
Hmm.
I just mean in general. Like even today it's still seen as a risk.
Is it?
Yes. Can you name 5 female leads off the top of your head? Female leads of franchises?
No, but in my defense, I don't play a lot of video games. So,
I play a lot of video games, and if you ask me on the spot, I can't even do that. Even if I thought about it, I don't know if I could do that. I mean, think about it. Like,
okay, so Resident Evil.
but the but is the lead the entire franchise? No, because there is a female lead in Resident Evil, but she is not the entire franchise. There's also Leon and
Gotcha.
um
Okay, so the franchise is just about them.
yes, like they are the franchise. Like Witcher. Witcher's Geralt. Obviously there's more
Yeah.
to Witcher than Geralt, but like
Yeah. I mean, I guess I feel like I can't even think of a lot of franchises just about one person.
oh, well I could list a few dozen of those, but that's
Hmm.
fair. What if we type I'm gonna ask Google. Female led.
Because I feel like a lot of female led games are not, they're more like anthology series. Like Assassin's Creed will do some female led things. I don't know.
Right.
I
Right.
think it's also just hard to create new franchises based off of one main character in general.
Mm, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, you've got Mario, you've got Link, Zelda. It
Okay.
has Zelda's name, but you know who people think of? Link. Go ahead.
So I also want to push back on that because, again, those are games and franchises started many, many years ago.
No, I know. But we were just talking that you were saying you couldn't come up with any one. So I was just giving examples. I was
Gotcha.
just trying to, yeah. I was just going through what I could think of off the top of my head.
Okay.
So, like, Witcher.
Hmm.
I had more, but then you, okay. That's
I'm
fine.
sorry. I'm just trying
No,
to
it's
think,
okay.
like, since 2010, right? Like, I feel like,
Witcher's after 2010.
perfect. But I feel like there was a lot of things that happened in the 90s and in the aughts that, yes, there was a lot of learning. There was a lot of things going on. There was a lot of, oh, women like to game. Like it was I feel like now it's much more accepted and understood. And so I don't know if it's just they haven't had,
Okay, let me come back with
I don't know.
this then.
Okay.
Let's just say it's not even a franchise. What percentage do you think a game is fully led by a female and there's no option to be a male character and that female truly is like the lead of the game?
15%?
I
More?
don't know, man. I feel like that's generous.
15?
No, I think it'd be less. Yeah. I feel like it's less than that. I don't know. I have no idea what the exact percentage is. This is just me posing that question since you're saying there's not a lot of, you would say, franchises about one person. Which I don't know if I agree with that. I still feel like there are, but that's fair.
Online gaming site Solitaire claims that out of, oh, see, this is the thing. It's so hard to
They can't be
like,
trusted.
because they say it's out of 150 popular video games released between 85 and 2002. And I'm like, okay, how did you decide which 150 you're looking at? What the heck? And then everyone's running around just being like, just 6% of global video games feature a female protagonist out of the 150 that they looked at. Okay.
Well, if they went based off of sales, right, and they ranked games according to sales, then I would be more willing to trust them when they say the popular, but they don't say why they're saying it's the most popular. So,
Yeah. But I feel like franchises like Assassin's Creed and like, I guess the Resident Evil, the female characters were earlier. But I feel like franchises are adding in female protagonists into some of their later games. Maybe they didn't start it, but we got there.
I mean, I'm not dissing that. I'm just saying it's still a small percentage even with that, which is sad.
So I'm looking at Wikipedia at their category video games featuring female protagonists. And so they have a bunch of subcategories, including video games based on Alice in Wonderland, Barbie video games. The only thing under N is video games based on Nancy Drew.
Yes.
In the
Bless
T's,
Nancy.
yes, we have Tomb Raider, and then they have video games based on Totally Spies. Tell me,
Oh my
I
gosh,
want to play Totally
Spies.
Spies.
Yeah, first I want to say this before I forget. We were talking about the second Tomb Raider, right? So, and how they used her sexual appeal in marketing. Okay, well, we really saw this in the second Tomb Raider. They made an ad campaign, sweetie, called Where the Boys Are. And this campaign suggested men were abandoning traditional male spaces, like the strip club, to go hang out with Lara. And then in 1999...
No.
I just had to go to court to keep Lara's name and the Tomb Raider logo out of Playboy, which they won because they argued that such a public association of the character with pornography would forever ruin her image. Yes, this was another interesting point. Before I get to, I guess, what I really wanted to say too, The ongoing cultural conversation about boobs, Laura's boobs, has arguably done more to curb systematic sexual objectification in gaming than to perpetuate it. Thoughts on that?
Hmm. Um, I think having her so unrealistic, like to the point of ridiculousness,
Hmm.
right? Um, is an easier pushback of that is ridiculous
But some guys
versus.
don't know that. I think it's easier for a woman to see that and say that's not realistic.
Sorry, are they talking about a pushback from women or?
Just in Oh, they're just in general. So does okay. So the whole thing about Laura is that whenever a conversation about Tomb Raider comes up, it always inevitably comes around to her boobs and her boob size. And if this continue talking about it, does this has this done more to curb systematic sexual objectification in gaming, or has it done more to perpetuate it? Like, has this conversation helped with that, or caused it to be more do more harm? Did I rephrase that right?
I think hmm,
Right?
I think
That's
because
a thinker.
so some games I'm sure saw the success and saw that people were like, this is great. This is a good time. I liked seeing this. And we're like, awesome. We'll make bigger boobs on our characters and send them off on their merry way.
Hmm.
Others, and because of the controversy, again, controversy sells.
Hmm.
Maybe the controversy is based on sex, or it's based on boobs, or it's based on wildness, or whatever. Controversy gets people talking about your franchise. Very Gossip Girl, right? When Gossip Girl premiered and their season 2 was coming out, and they were just all of their ads were parents don't want their kids to watch this. Like, this too racy for TV. Like, they used that and they ran with it because they were just like, this is great. What are all the teenagers going to want to do? Um,
Watch it.
watch it. If their parents
Hmm.
don't want them to watch it because it's racy and it's sexy and there's stuff going on, oh my gosh, wow, fun. I want to get in there.
Right.
So I
I don't.
I push back on the idea that because teenage boys see a character on a video game who
Hmm.
has big boobs, that affects their expectations in life. I struggle. I struggle with, like, they may find it
Okay.
hot, sure, but
No,
is that
let me
affecting
throw
their
something
life?
at you for that. And it's not because I disagree or anything. It's just like the devil's advocate in hearing you say that makes me think about. So what about all the studies that show that, people who watch porn get unrealistic ideas for what happens in sex and like what their partner should look like down there?
Yeah. Um, I guess partial rebuttal is porn has algorithms and whatever, or like people have things that they like and they go and search for it specifically because they like it or they've seen it and they get drawn to something, and so they kind of get pulled into wilder and wilder things. They can be just pulled down a whirlpool into just like all sorts of things that they didn't even know existed because they can, but that's the kind of person that they are. I think there are people who are just inherently drawn to stuff like that, or who are their personality just kind of gets sucked into things like that versus other people who can like watch a couple things of porn and be like, all right, not for me, or great, I know this one thing I like and I'm gonna watch that and then be done and don't need to like keep zipping down.
Okay, push back to that
Okay.
though. Until more recently, the majority of porn though was by porn stars. There wasn't all of this homemade porn.
Mm-hmm.
So you were seeing the extremes, even if you were just watching, something relatively normal and quote unquote vanilla, you were still seeing huge bonkers,
Sure.
huge cockers.
Yeah. So I do absolutely acknowledge that if you are only exposed to that and that's the only thing you're aware of, and then you see it in real life and you're just like, I've seen better. I I'm not interested in what's going on here because I've seen. Okay, great. Go date a porn star. I don't know. I
But also, sorry, there, but not okay. So then let's broaden it out further too. It's like it's not just porn though. Like it's celebrities, it's media, it's YouTubers, it's
mm-hmm,
all of that.
mm-hmm,
That is all right. I don't want to be sexist, but I think females are maybe a little more often more realistic about sex, and I think it's more often males who are like have certain expectations or things that are going to happen just because of what is exposed to them, like what they're going to see.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What's
However,
sold to
we're
them as this
yes,
is what it's like.
yes. I will say we've strayed really far from the original thing in that like this wasn't even necessarily the question wasn't necessarily about this. It was just like because we keep talking about it, has this helped in what media shows? I think is at least I think this is what my question was trying to ask, or the statement is like, is this has this been helpful in how women are portrayed in games and like kept it from staying crazy and out of control, or has it made it worse because we're just always still talking about boobs? I would say I don't know if it's made it worse, but I think because we keep talking about Lara Croft and how she was made and what does it mean and what does she mean. Um, I think it has helped. I don't know if it's curbed systematic sexual objectification, but I would say it by its continuing to be relevant. I mean, it's gotten to a time where women do speak up more about this and like there are women trying to change
Mm-hmm.
stuff in the gaming. So I think it at the very least paved a way, and like how you said way back of like if her being over sexualized was what had to happen so we could have the character today, then you're glad it did. Like, you know what I mean? It paved the way. If it wasn't for her being like that, we wouldn't even be able to have this conversation. You know what I mean? And because she stays relevant, we can keep talking about it and see how we can change
And
what's
I
going on.
also feel just like she does have such an extreme body. So again,
Yeah,
I just feel like it's very easy for women to say, I don't. It's not reasonable for a normal
right,
person to look like that.
right. Which
So,
okay, so you saying that this is what I originally wanted to get to. This bullet point was the argument that men were having of could women relate to her if they didn't also have enormous breasts or a body like her? Would women still be able to relate to Laura?
Can you repeat the question?
It's not a question. It was that I saw this statement and like there's like multiple critics saying this and like developers and stuff too, I think, that were just like, can women even relate to her if they don't also have enormous breasts?
Can men relate to a character who doesn't have an enormous dick?
I know. I was like, this is wild. Like, what? I knew, I saw that and I was like, oh, I have to bring this up to Sweetie because you'll have the same, just like, what? That I had. And then it was led up by a guy being like, her impossible anatomy made her a sham of a feminist role model. You can't trick me, gave me companies.
So that's what makes me mad, right? So, yes, does she have a silly little Barbie boob waist ratio? Yes.
Yeah.
Does that make her less cool and less badass? No.
No.
Does that make women go, ugh, she looks like a porn star. I don't like her? I'm sure yes. But also
Some, yes.
no. Like if
Right.
you're judging her for the way her body is shaped and judging her therefore for her sexuality,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't make you a good person. It doesn't take away
I
from
know.
the person that she is and the characteristics and the strength that she has just
Yes.
because she looks hot and wears booty shorts.
Yes. This is maybe gonna make me sound sexist, but I feel like women are able to better transcend that kind of stuff than men, just because of how our brains are formed and work. Like, we just,
Men are very, very visual creatures, and women
yeah,
appreciate it, but absolutely can also just move past
go
it.
beyond it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and get deeper.
So, like, I saw that and I was like, I don't think a lot of women really care or think that. And then, okay, that's right. And then this was further followed up by no, is it this one? Is it? Oh yeah, right. Okay. So then tabloids had been ranking potential actresses of who could play Laura based primarily on their breast size. And because of this and Laura and how she was, this was driving teenage girls to get breast implants because of her.
Was it
So
though? Was it?
I want to be like, where, how,
Give me
and
your
where?
statistics. Was it also just like it was the early 2000s and people were just doing that? Was it just like
Right.
that was trendy because we had just left the Coke thin bodies of the 90s and we were moving a little bit different? We were just doing different body shapes in the early 2000s. And so everyone who was super, super skinny in the 90s all of a sudden was just
Yeah.
like, I might want some curves so I can start filling out whatever, whatever. I don't want to be a flat chested anymore. So were they just getting boob jobs because body body types were coming into vogue, into trend, that were just different? Did it have? I mean, Lara Croft, sure, she had a trendy body type. That doesn't mean she led the trend or was the trend.
Or shamed women into doing that kind of stuff.
That's just such just like parental panic of just like, this thing is happening. It's affecting the children. No, it's not. It's there. And this is what I was trying to get at when I was talking about like
Yeah.
porn and like everything else is like,
Mhm.
it's one game. Do I
Right.
think Lara Croft on her own did this? No. Do I think
No.
that the developers who created her did it in a vacuum and led this, ooh, boys have never seen big boobs on a pixelated character before. Let's do it. Like, no, they were following a trend. They were not leading a
No.
trend.
They definitely kind of led that. There was definitely not that kind of boobage on female characters before that, but also because graphics didn't really
In video games, sure.
do it. Yeah,
But
in
like
video games.
comics, every single comic that had a woman
Oh,
in it
yeah, no. Yeah.
was just atrociously large breasts. Like
Mhm.
comically large breasts. And
Well,
so
they're
I feel like they
comics.
were just like, oh, all right, well, let's
Yeah.
put her in this. I don't know.
Yes.
So I don't think that she was the catalyst for any teenage, like, sure, I'm sure there were plenty of teenage boys who played the game and were just like, this is hot, I like this, big boobs, tiny waist, and they were like, huh, no one else has ever thought of this before, fabulous. And that just sent them down a path of oblivion. I don't know.
Do you think the Kardashians led the what's the word? I don't know if I mean trend, but like led the way for nope, not led the way. Nope, wait. I have to think about how I'm trying to phrase this. Do you think the Kardashians have caused women to think they need a bunch of plastic surgery? Or have been maybe like the forefront of the cause, like led the way, and then there's the trickle down. I guess my thought is that
Mm.
like a driving force. Do you think they were a driving force in that?
Kardashians
There we go.
are saleswomen
Yes.
and they are trendsetters.
Yep.
That is their job. And so, do I think they saw things happening, saw momentum? Because they aren't leaders of trends. They are not early adopters necessarily. They're kind of the leaders of that second wave of just like normal people moving on to something. And so maybe they're the end of the early adopters. So like the most of the early adopters have already come in, they've started doing their stuff, they've started like showing off their looks, and the Kardashians pop in and say, whoop, I want to do that. And then general population, it kind of gets in their vision, and then they're going, oh, interesting. Because I know there were lots of girls who were going into Mac or
I'm not
Sephora.
wait, let me stop you. I'm not talking makeup. I'm talking specifically body standards and plastic surgery.
Right. But there were girls who were going into Mac and Sephora saying, I want to look like Kim Kardashian.
Right.
And I
Yes.
and I feel like those type of people who would go in and be like, I want to look like them, makeup probably is not enough. So I think them changing stuff about themselves so obviously, so regularly, but I think so many other celebrities do it. I think there are so many celebrity trends, and I think they hop on them as soon as all their little assistants come running in and saying, ooh, like Blake Lively's doing this, or these people are doing this. And they go, okay, interesting. Which one do we think is going to be impactful or going to get the most buzz or get the most excitement or whatever? And then they go and do it. And then, yeah, I think people see it happening, but they probably have seen it happening on some other big celebrities too. Because the Kardashians don't necessarily want to be the first to do something because they don't want they want to see the momentum behind a change before jumping it into it themselves so that they don't make a fool of themselves if nobody comes with them.
Okay, so first I would say to the celebrity thing, yes, celebrities for a long time have been doing plastic surgery. Sure. We all know they do stuff to look as good as they do at 50. We're not idiots. I would say they are more of the extreme of plastic surgery. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say when it comes to plastic surgery, which is what I was more initially talking about, they couldn't have been early adopters regardless, because that's something that has been a possibility for a good while.
Mm-hmm.
So I would still say they were trendsetters for that, because when they really started doing it and going crazy with it, right? You get like, okay, so this is how I'd say it, right? Very obviously, A-level celebrities did it. Not all of them, a lot of them, whether it was a little bit or a lot of it, right? They all were doing the crazy stuff that rich people can do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But I would say it was not as common for B or C level
Mm-hmm.
celebrities to be doing it. And then when you had the Kardashians doing it, not only did that become more common, but then you had like YouTubers who don't even fall in B and C celebrity, they were doing it. Or there's all the Instagram people becoming Instagram models doing it and doing all of that. And so that's where I would argue that I think they were a trendsetter for that, and I would say I think they were a driving force for setting for the societal beauty standard becoming even more unrealistic than it already was.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
mean, I think Instagram in general
Yeah.
is that driving force because there's that whole, Instagram face, right? Where everyone keeps talking about how people are kind of getting similar faces because they're all going in and asking for the same look or have
Hmm.
the same inspiration. And do I think there are definitely groups of people who say, oh, I saw what Kim Kardashian did. I want my face to look like that. Yes, absolutely.
I still feel like they were like one of the first dominoes that set down the thing, even if they maybe don't further perpetuate it now.
I think they were probably one of the first groups to be really open about it. Like, I feel like most of the time, plastic surgery was kind of like, ooh, it was kind of a secret if somebody got a nose job or somebody had stuff done. And they changed and got so much done to be like, it was more drastic and it would happen more often. So I think people were just much more aware of it, maybe.
But that's what I mean though, is the unrealistic
Mm-hmm.
surgeries. It's more than just a little lip filler, a little Botox to keep the wrinkles away. Like they are some
Yeah.
of the extremes of plastic surgery. And like we were saying earlier, like the average person cannot go and do all the stuff they do. They
Yeah.
can't go to the doctors that can perform really well done surgery. Cause like a person like me, right? If I got skinny enough, or even now, I would totally want to get a breast reduction.
Mm-hmm.
But uh I don't even know if any insurance covers that, except it would be something that would be helpful to my health.
Yeah. I think some do, especially when it's um, related to weight loss, since employer
Right.
benefit packages typically
Right.
like anything like bariatric or any other kind of weight related benefit packages typically like favor those and like lean heavily on those just because they're just like
That's what I thought, but
because everyone because of the whole thought process of well we can't solve other problems until they've lost weight. Therefore, we need them to lose weight so that other problems either can be found
right.
or solved, which
Mhm.
makes
Mhm.
sense in some cases, but mostly no. But yeah, so like anything to do with weight loss is many, it's more likely to be covered than something that would be um, seen as
Right.
elective surgery.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think our conclusion is that Lara Croft is more than just who made her. And she doesn't just have to be what she originally was or originally made for, you know? Just like society progresses and changes, why cannot the character? Because they are ultimately a part and parallel to society. You know what I mean? Like, just as we're going, things change. So I think we can reclaim Lara for ourselves. She doesn't just have to be, she can be more than what she is. But even if she doesn't change drastically, I think she still is a female empowerment symbol because we women can look what?
It was so you know that comic of like the blonde, big boobed woman walking along, picking up a book, and then turning into like, that kind of alternative, just nerd girl.
No,
Oh my god, I'll send it to
I'm
you.
sorry. I don't know. I think she can still be a strong female empowerment because I feel like something people forget is a character is ultimately what you make of it. You know what I mean? Like you don't I've said that too much tonight, you know what I mean? Good lord. It doesn't just have to be what society says it is. Um I never looked at Barbies or Laura's or other bodies and or even like Polly Pockets and thought that's what I have to achieve. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
need to be. I looked more at what did they do? What did they say? What did they believe in? And that was how I related to that character or not, or thought they were worth looking up to or not.
I agree. I think there's so much of characters that people put a lot of attention on, and they're like, oh my gosh, this character, the way that they look or the way that they act or whatever is going to be super, super impactful on people. And it's like, okay, well, teach your kids that just because somebody looks a certain way or does a certain thing or what, like, that doesn't reflect you. That
Hmm.
doesn't mean you have to do that thing that way. You have to look that certain way. Like, just separate that out.
Yes, she's more than just what they made her. She can be what she is to you. And I think it's good that we keep talking about Laura just in general. That's society. Like we keep remembering her because, sure, maybe franchises now, don't know if I agree with that, but maybe now franchises aren't now focused on one character or one set of characters. That's probably agree with it a little bit. I still think there are plenty of franchises focused on one character, but that's fine. Oh my god, when I forget my point. It continues to bring attention to representation
Mm.
in gaming, and that not just for females but for everyone, that there are characters out there that everyone can relate to, and it's not just certain characters that we have no choice but to decide do we want to relate to them or not. That there are characters out there for us, are us for us. So I think it's good that it's continued to be a discussion. I hope it still continues to be a discussion, which is why I thought it was important that we talked about it to further that, because I think it does shine light on that representation, but also to remind us that a character can be more than just what you physically see. Just like
Mm.
they're like, don't judge a cover by its oh my god, don't judge a book by its cover. Yeah, guys, quit judging covers by their books. Honestly, the audacity.
Actually, that's fair. There are some really atrocious covers for some really good books, and it's very sad.
It is. It is. Because there's so many people who look at the cover and like that's really all you have to decide, do you want to read the book or not? You get a small paragraph and the cover of the book, and you could miss out on some really great books because that's what you're judging after.
I also wanted to say
So,
that it was only 15 years after Lara was created that she was given kind of a new life and a new look.
yeah.
And so, it's been 24, 25 years since Lara Croft first was introduced. So,
Mm-hmm.
in another 20 years, who knows what we're going to know or remember about the franchise. Like maybe
Right.
the first 10 years were this wildly sexualized creature. And then from then on out, we're just like, nope, we actually don't need that. But I was also thinking about how this works in reverse for some characters, right? Because Lara
Right.
started out sexy and then it's been turned a little more realistic versus a character like Velma from Scooby-Doo, who started out as just like a normal ass person. And then
Right.
now, anytime,
Became
like if you look up
my
Velma
God.
in like Google
Yeah.
Images, turn your safe
Yes.
search on. I mean
God.
it. I mean it.
Yes. Yes. I just. I also would not be upset if she kept some aspect of sexiness. Lara, just saying. I feel like I'm glad that's a part of her because I think it. The way they are seeing me, how that would not be an empowerment. I think it is an empowerment because it reminds women like you can be sexy. You don't have to not be sexy. And there's many ways to be sexy.
Totally agree, because I feel like there's so many things that are made like for women and for girls that have all sexiness sucked out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so sterilized. It's so just like, no, we're a perfect, pure little angel. Like, nope, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Like, I'm just here hanging out. And I feel like that sets people up for trouble too. If they don't have anything happening and all of a sudden they go out in the real world and they're like, oh, you can't just say stuff like that. Like, you have to be mindful of how other people will take things because not everyone has good intentions like that.
Right.
So,
yeah. Okay. Well, I'm really glad we talked about that. That's another episode I really enjoyed talking about. All right. Well, if you have a developer game or side quest you want us to talk about, or any local anonymized gossip you simply must tell somebody, please let us know on Twitter at nosidequests or email us at nosidequests@gmail.com. And if you'd like to see our lovely faces during the podcast, we post each episode with video to our I Don't Believe in Side Quest YouTube channel. Before I go into our plugs, just plugging the Twitch channel. Who knows when this will come out, but we have done, at least by this time we're recording it, one stream, and probably by the time this comes out, multiple streams. So please, don't be afraid to drop a follow to our, I think it's No Side Quests, right? Our Twitch is No Side Quests, to be able to see us when we are live. I think we're going to try and post VODs on the YouTube, so you at least are able to do that. But you can find me, Gabe, at nenyaadamas on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram. And you can find Lauren at sweetie_patat on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. I don't know why I got an accent, but I just felt like it when I said your name. Cause
I loved it.
we didn't really say Lara often enough in an accent. We were just kind of like Lara. But you know what I mean?
Lara. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have the underlying Lara. Anyways.
Lara.
You're like, what are you talking about? It's fine, don't worry about it. It's a meme. Not a meme, kind of a meme, but it's true. Anyways, bye.
Bye.